Happy Friday! And you know what? More importantly, happy World Menopause Day. God, World Menopause Day. It's today. Friday is the International World Global fucking something of Menopause Day. Right? And some of you might be going, oh, that's got nothing to do with me. I don't think there's a person on the planet that doesn't get impacted by menopause. And you know, back in the day, like when my mum went through menopause, I remember her talking about the change. She'd say, oh, it's because of the change. You know, like she'd talk about one of my aunties and she'd say, oh, she's not that good, you know, because of the change. And so you couldn't even say the word menopause because it was like this weird, dirty secret where, you know, people thought that women's heads were going to swivel round all the way 360 or something. I don't know. It was very weird, but I remember it being quite shrouded in secrecy. And I remember thinking, what actually happens in this change? What is it? You know, and really, actually, it's just reverse puberty. And do you know that from about the age of 28 years old, you start heading into perimenopause? Fucking hell, right? So your fertility peaks at, I don't know, don't quote me, I'm not an expert, but something like 28. And then it's all downhill on the fertility world from there. And so it's like we start going down through, and it's kind of like the reverse of puberty, right? So I reckon, you know how when you remember yourself, if you're a woman, or you had a sister, or you watch, or even boys too, you watch kids go through puberty and you just go, oh, fuck, you're a bit weird, love, right? They're all over the place. They're angry, they're happy, they're sad, they're grumpy, their skin erupts, they've got pimples, they're greasy, there's all this shit happening, and it happens at all different times, just like menopause. So there's no magical age. Like some people go through puberty at 11, some people go through it at 14. You know, it's like, and I think menopause actually is kind of the same. And it's the reverse, right? So your hormones all change and drop off. And it's so interesting because I think people talk a lot about stuff like, oh, you get woken up with hot flushes. I like to think of them as power surges. So I'm very positive about most things. And I love the idea. Like I love menopause because I go, there's a fucking reason for it, right? And it's useful and it's a natural stage that we meant to go through. And the problem is all this keep calm and carry on and, oh, look like you're still 30. People were like, oh, no, I don't want to go through this. And I'm like, yeah, but what if you did? Like, what if you just got hold of menopause and embraced it? You know, like it's a mad time. It's a mad time. I think that all of it's designed to deliberately disrupt you because I think for a middle-aged woman, you go through life and there's like the three stages. I wrote about this in my first book, Look, We'll Just Be Happy. So for the first 25 years of your life, it's all about you, right? And it's just all about you and you making sense of who you are in the world. And then the second 25 years, like from 25 to 50s, all about every other fucker, right? It's about, oh, I've got to look after you and marry you and have you and babysit you. And, you know, and even if you never actually have physical children, you're still in that energy. You're still in the energy of looking after people, whether you're looking after people at a business level or you're looking after pets or you're in this looking after kind of gathery space. And you're creating stuff and you're birthing, whether it's children or ideas or whatever the fuck you're doing, it doesn't really matter. But you're in that space. And then the third 25, which is the 50 to 75, is kind of the space where, so you go from a maiden where you're pretty and you kind of trade on your looks and you're youthful and everything's young and fresh. And then you go from maiden to mother. I love archetype work. Carolyn Meiss's work on archetypes is extraordinary. So then you go from maiden to mother. And then the third phase is crone. And no one wants to be a crone, do they? Because a crone's like the evil witch in the forest in the fairy tale or whatever. And it's kind of witchy. And, you know, crones and witches were feared by the world because wise women, you don't want to fuck with that, right? And so everyone knew to get rid of the wise women. So witches were burned. Witches were burned. Old women were banished because they were so wise and they were outspoken and they didn't give a shit, which made them very dangerous and very powerful. And so the patriarchy didn't want them around. So the men made the women mad and said, fucking, they're all mad, get rid of the women. And then, all the institutions were like, bad women. You need to behave yourself and be a good woman and not have an opinion and all this shit. Oh my God, right? Oh my God. And so anyway, when you turn into a crone, I think it's a big relief because you finally have given up the need to care about what everyone thinks. You've given up the need to be this self-sacrificing human that goes, oh, let me do this at my expense. Let me sit here with you even though I don't want to. All this shit where we give at the expense of ourselves. And I talk all the time about the Invitation poem by Oriah Mountain Dreamer. And the line in that poem that changed my life is, are you prepared to disappoint another in order to be true to yourself? Don't you love that? Are you prepared to disappoint another in order to be true to yourself? Now, that's nothing to do with menopause. That is just life, right? So any of you, whether you have a uterus or not, I don't care. But are you prepared to disappoint another in order to be true to yourself? What happens by the time you've a woman on the planet for 50 years, you just go, do you know what? I'm fucking done with this shit. I'm sick of listening to your shit. I'm sick of putting up with your shit. And I get this calling to rise up and go, no more. This ends here. And age is wonderful. Isn't age? I love age because it stops us it stops us in our tracks, right? And I think I really love, there's a beautiful book called The Passage to Power by Leslie Kenton. And she's extraordinary. And she talks about menopause being a hero journey where women sort of get this calling, and there's a calling for them to step into who they are and to get pulled away from their external world and often go into a place of stillness. So often you'll see women around 50 to 55 just going, I just want to fucking run away. I just want to hide. I want to get in a cave and I just want to hide. And they're being stirred up and kind of pushed into that solitary space where they get to reconnect with themselves. And I think that's beautiful because you spend so many years denying yourself in service to other people that suddenly it's like, actually, I just want to spend some time sitting with myself, reconnecting and working out what I want. And then there's things that happen like a hot flush, which is, I call them power surges, where suddenly you're woken up in the middle of the night and you feel like your body is on fire. And from the reading I did in Leslie Kenton's book, I'm like, that is a disruption that wakes you up and goes, what am I doing here? Do I want to live here? Why am I in this bed? Why am I in this relationship? Why am I in this house? Why am I living this life? It's totally disruptive. And it's designed to rattle your cage so that you can decide what you want, the last third of your life to be like. And I think it's a wake-up call. Like, I love it. I love it that Leslie Kenton says menopause is a call to adventure and that we have hidden treasures to match our wildest dreams. Don't you love that? And that the riches that are there can only be claimed if you're bold enough to answer the call, right? And the calling is your soul. I'm like, oh, you're being called by your own soul to actually put yourself first and to go hard. And I really like the idea that by the time you go through menopause, basically the physiology of it is you can no longer bear children. I don't think you have to bear anything. I think you just go, right, you fuck off and you fuck off. I can't be bothered. And you get to gather up the people that really mean something to you, that add value to you. And this is for all of us as we age. You just get to be more discerning. Isn't that beautiful? More discerning, right? Which is so lovely. So I kind of love this. And I love that we have this World Menopause Day. And I know that people get sick of hearing about it because menopause is for a lot of people like, oh, I don't care. I'm like, no, you need to care. Because if you are a man, your life is going to get disrupted by some woman you care about going through menopause. Whether that's your mother, whether that's your sister, your partner, whatever, you're going to be disrupted by someone you love dealing with this, right? Like I remember when my mum went through menopause and I didn't really know what was happening, but everyone was just on eggshells. We were all just tiptoeing around going, oh, don't poke the bear. We didn't know what was happening. Bless her, she didn't know what was happening. And it wasn't okay for her to just lose her shit and go, fuck it, I'm having a hot, sweaty moment, And I just love that. I just love that we now get to have these conversations, and women don't talk enough about this. And some women fly through and nothing really happens. They have one hot flush and might get, and other women, their skin gets itchy and they get angry. And a lot of it I've come to learn, especially through my gorgeous friend, Susan Hunter, my naturopath, that it's a lot to do with your liver load. And so going into menopause, if you're in your 40s and you're listening to this, really start looking at your liver load. Because if you hit late 40s and your liver's really wasted and heavy, you're going to find it's really tricky. Like I gave up drinking when I got to my late 40s because if I noticed if I drank, I would be awake all night. And then I was like, if I drank alcohol, I was guaranteed to have like hot flushes and power surges. And so then I'm like, okay, I won't drink. And then they kind of were half. And then I'm like, oh, and then a friend of mine, gorgeous Kate Billing, she said, actually ditch red meat. That changed for me. I was like, oh, so only for like 6 months, I ditched red meat. It was a game changer. So it was just that my liver needed less stuff to process. And I don't know that much about it, but maybe red meat's harder for your liver or your body to process than, say, fish. Maybe. I don't really know enough about this, but I'm going, anything that puts a load on your body, you want to take off. So you want to cut back on sugars and cut back on all the stuff. And it's a really good time to start being refocused on your body, because getting old is fucking really motivating. It's really motivating. You start getting out of chairs and you make noises and, it's like, okay, no, I need my knees, right? I'm going to go and work on my knees. I'm going to work on my balance. I'm going to work on, my core. And just not because I want to be thin and walk around in a bikini, but because I want to be able to move without making noises. And it becomes so motivating. And when your estrogen leaves your body, right, which is the whole kind of menopausal process, your tendons get dry, your skin gets dry, everything gets dry, but your tendons get dry. And then I noticed my feet were really sore. I lost all my flexibility in my arches. I couldn't wear heels. All these things change. And it's like, oh my God. So if I do lots of foot exercises, I can wear the shoes I want. If I don't, I'm in Birks full time, Birkenstocks forever, right? And it's like all these things that happen as our body is aging. And it's like, what can we do about that? And, I'm big on effort and I'm big on action. And I'm like, what can you do to support yourself? What can you do to support others? What can you do to be generous? Like if you work with a woman who's possibly in a menopausal stage or perimenopause, which is the bit before, and that's just as hard, it's like, what do you need? What's wrong? And like you see, they're all hot and flustered and you go, are you okay? Do you need me to get you a glass of water? It's okay to notice. Like everyone sits around pretending nothing's happening and some woman's gone fucking fluorescent red and is exploding and everyone's trying to carry on a meeting like nothing's happening. You need to go, hey, are you okay? Can I get you a glass of water? Can I get you a tissue? Do you need to go for a walk? Like it's completely normal. And I think the more we normalize it, the better. So that's why I quite like World Menopause Day. So if you've got ovaries that have dried up, congratulations. If you've got ovaries that are still ding donging and claring around, amazing, go you. Just go out and find a woman and smile at her today. Go and fucking love the crones. The crones, I tell you, us old crones, we are awesome, man. We are wise, we are clever, we are powerful, and you know what? I wouldn't be any other age. So there you go. Happy World Menopause Day to you all. Mwah.